Can you maybe start by telling us some of your positions that you've held in law enforcement, so people get a glimpse of your past?
Sure. I mean, I was the assistant chief during the Shane War, and then after the collapse, I came back. I was a dispatcher, then I was a marshal, and then I was the acting director, and now I'm the head of CID within LSPD.
And what was your what was your position when the Faceless started to become a known entity in the city?
I think at the time I was just a marshal. Yeah, I was just a lowly little marshal.
And can you remember when did you first become aware of them?
It was sometime in that January. I think it was it 2025 or 2024? I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But we became aware of them when there was some twats around December time, and there was some mention of them in January, and pretty much the same day I opened the investigation was about 6 hours later we were contacted by Mr. Blue.
Can you give us any insight into what their contact was about?
It was there was contact with both myself and now Sheriff Peters, who was aiding me with it at the time, and it was both of us received a blue card. We were both warned to back off and cease investigation.
Oh, we've got one of them as well, haven't we, Nora?
Oh yeah.
When would you say you first started to realise that something really bad was happening?
I think it was pretty evident that these guys weren't messing around. Where I think it was either the same day or the day after that they sent attack helicopters after Peters in the prison. So it was pretty much like there was a switch where they were in the shadows, and then as soon as we started looking into them, they were like, okay, we don't need to hide anymore, so let's just send everything. And so that's what they did there.
And I guess in all of your experience working in law enforcement, have you ever dealt with anything like that before, with like a similar, I guess, firepower that they have?
No, I mean even comparing it to Shane Green, they were a ragtag band of militia who, yeah, they had some pretty good weaponry, but you know, they were just people at the end of the day. This is a potentially international organization with seemingly unlimited funds and a hell of a lot of people working for them. So no, nothing on this scale.
And were you around when for October 13th?
Potentially, you're gonna have to ring a bell there, Frank.
I believe that was the date that the Faceless first became somewhat publicly known. It was the date of their first operation, I think, involving Asha Murphy.
A convoy that went out from Humane Labs.
Yeah, I don't think I was there directly, but I was there in the aftermath with Leonova, who was investigating that stuff at the time, because there was vehicles recovered from there that were tied to an individual who we don't believe was involved, but some people know as Pigeon. And those vehicles were seized, and that we didn't know that was anything to do with the Faceless until, you know, a few months in, where it kind of realized the same people that were involved with the Faceless were also involved with that. So yeah, we didn't really know the gravity or the context of that for a while.
What can you, if anything, can you tell us anything about Asha Murphy?
The small bits that I either remember or I know, we as law enforcement were contacted directly by the Faceless and led to that location where Asha Murphy's body was found. Unfortunately, it seemed like she was involved in some capacity in Faceless operations at Humane Labs, and then she was hunted down supposedly for leaking information.
And one thing I wanted to ask you about, because obviously right now everybody sees, I think it's fair to say that even though we don't believe he is a member of the Faceless, that Charlie is almost the day-to-day face that interacts with people. And I think it's fair to say that back then, Mr. Blue was actually that person. What were your, is that true? And then also, what would you say your interactions with him were like?
Yeah, that's true. Back then, Charlie wasn't really on our radar, other than through like potential contact. Looking back, like we're pretty sure that Charlie was in contact around that time, but we didn't know who he was. We hadn't seen him. But yeah, primarily the contact was with Mr. Blue, and once he kind of showed his face or that lack thereof, some people started to remember seeing him around some places, including, I think it was AK's funeral. Someone remembered him being there.
You've been trying to clean up the mess in the city. Trying to stop the violence, the chaos, the flood of weapons into every street corner. But do you know who's been fueling that chaos, Richard?
I mean, yes, you.
We've been watching cops, marshals, scrambling, fighting a battle that was already over before you even realized it.
Were you part of the marshals when Ryan Keager started to reach, or did that video when he reached out regarding the Oracle?
If you're watching this, Marshall, I need you to understand one thing. I'm not doing this to save myself. My hands are already stained. And my life, well, let's just say I'm living on borrowed time.
Yeah. No, I was Ryan. I had direct contact with Ryan, and that video was left for myself. It all kind of kicked off with the Asha Murphy thing. We knew she was from Humane Labs, so we followed up over there. And I think me showing my face up there kind of led Keager to reach out, and that's kind of how that developed.
What can you tell us about Ryan?
I'll be honest, not a lot. Not a lot. I didn't know him well. We had very brief interactions. But I can say that he was a very brave man for doing what he did and speaking out against the Faceless.
And obviously, you being so close to it at the beginning, and then still being in law enforcement as we sit here today, on the 7th of August 2026. What's your overriding thoughts and feelings when you look back at the last couple of years and how we've got to this point?
I think the Faceless are a bunch of cowards. I think the only reason that we're in this position at the minute is because they are desperate, because law enforcement has worked so hard to put a stop to them, but they haven't been able to get what they want. And so they are pretty much throwing their dummy out the trolley, and they're trying to just destroy us instead there.